Good afternoon and welcome to the launch of our anthology Heartland and also to the Seamus Heaney Awards. My name is Conor Shields and I'm the Chief Executive of Community Arts Partnership, and I'm delighted to welcome you along, albeit in this digital medium, as we still are constrained by the outworkings of the pandemic and how we navigate our way in this very changed world that we're in currently. Our society has seen terrible moral injury and absolute heartrending loss over this last while. We have become somewhat unalloyed to our present in so many ways. Some of us risking the merest steps beyond our thresholds to do simple tasks such as going shopping or calling upon friends and family. This has been torturous for so many. For others, of course, who have blithely disrespected any notion of collective responsibility and simply flouted the rules, we are saddened, we are perplexed, and we are all made more vulnerable, of course. How we understand ourselves as a collective is so often defined by our responses culturally to whatever is happening in the here and now. The mirror of poetry can offer us reflections in an even starker relief, remaking our memory, re-engaging our emotion. And where now we have a new, deeper collective responsibility for everyone in our community. It is still the role and the responsibility of our arts to find ways to reflect this new reality, to offer new refractions of the light that we see, and to give us a very personalized yet universalized sense of where we are. This year's Poetry in Motion, both in community and in our schools, has been principally and primarily continued in order to support poetry making and expression right across our region, rallying behind our banner, if you will, of Take Heart, Make Art. And in this, when the pandemic first hit, we saw the courage and the indefatigable work ethic of our healthcare professionals as they tended for the ill in increasingly fraught and overstretched circumstances. We saw how children symbolized their appreciation of our health service with rainbows and hearts, and as their parents and the rest of the community stood out on the street and banged pots and pans of a Thursday evening. It's very hard to put last year in perspective for all of us. And if any have a chance to do so, it is invariably our artists and our poets. The arts have persevered to find new ways to enable continued participation and our funders have risen to that challenge as well. For us, we have been supported principally by the Arts Council of Northern Ireland, but also by Belfast City Council, the Enkelon Foundation, Social Economy Northern Ireland, Community Foundation of Northern Ireland, and the Department for Communities as well. Thank you for that support. Thank you for recognising that the arts are important and indeed matter to so many people's lives. And thank you to all our poet facilitators who worked with their local community, those writing groups, individuals, and shifted all their working practice to online, to working digitally, to working remotely, embracing a seismic shift in the way these facilitators conduct their work, but still offering great support and indeed insight and tuition to so many in such challenging circumstances. To all those who submitted work to us, thank you. To those who were longlisted, and indeed to the eventual award winner, whom we'll be revealing later on, well done and hearty congratulations, pun intended. So thank you to everyone associated with this process. I'd also like to thank the Seamus Heaney family, and Máirín in particular, for her support over the years of our programme. Our notable and much lamented Nobel laureate holds a special place in the landscape of Irish poetry making. And it's for this reason that we've experienced such great support from our community of poets, our emerging writers, and indeed the wider literary community as well. So without further ado, may I hand over to my indefatigable colleague, Shelley Tracey, who has enabled this programme and others to roll expertly and supportively for the past while. And can I ask Shelley then to take the duties of announcing the next series of videos. And thank you for watching.
Hello everybody. My name is Shelley Tracey and I'm CAP's Poetry in Motion Coordinator. I am very happy to welcome you to our virtual event. I'm really sorry that we can't be in the same room today, but your presence is with me in the form of the wonderful poems which you all submitted. And thank you for those. Thank you for your continuing connection to creativity and your commitment to poetry. We really appreciate that. And I'm sure we're all looking forward to the Heartland anthology, which is full of really, really wonderful poems. And I'd also like to thank the poet facilitators who worked with some of our community groups, helping them to develop their poems. And these were Denise Blake, Stephanie Conn, Kelly Crichton, Emma Mast, Frank Rafferty, and Freya Sarin. And thank you too to Freya and to Stephanie, who facilitated masterclasses for us this year. We usually have these classes at CAP's premises and in other parts of Northern Ireland, but as with everybody else, we've had to adapt our practice, and we will all continue adapting and hopefully we will be able to meet sooner rather than later in the same venue to celebrate poetry. So all the very best to everybody in these times. Keep well, stay safe, and keep creative.
Hello everybody. Well, it's very strange to be sitting here talking into a screen in the kitchen of my own house when I'd really much rather be sitting in a room full of poets in the gorgeous Seamus Heaney home place. But I'd like to take the opportunity to thank everyone who sent in their poems for this year's Seamus Heaney New Writing Award. It's been an incredible privilege to be able to read all of your words and to share that with you. Poetry, I think, over the last very peculiar year that we've all had has shown itself to be such an important thing in connecting us to ourselves, our experiences, our feelings, and also connecting us outside of ourselves to other people and to the world outside. I'd like to thank the Community Arts Partnership for ensuring that this year's competition went ahead despite the circumstances. Particularly thank Shelley Tracey for all her work in the background. And I'd like to say well done to everyone whose poem made it into the anthology, and a particular congratulations to those poets whose poems have made it onto the long list. Now I'm looking forward, like the rest of you, to hearing the announcement of the winners. Thank you.
The swans. When the rain fell in torrents, heavy clouds wringing out their grievances, I would look for them, seeking out the low-lying corners of my uncle's fields where the water pooled round the gorse in slender rushes. I could not fathom the trick. A hand passes over my eyes, now land becomes lakes and the swans appear, drifting towards earth like ashes on the breeze, at once aeronauts and sailboats, an alabaster fleet of tall blessings, skimming across water and sky indiscriminately. I always wondered, where did they come from, really? Was home a human abstraction? Was freedom no more than clean feathers over hollow bones? I pictured them chasing storms like rainbows, secure in their numbers in nature's spontaneous provisions. But I was just a child then, watching the skies for manna, hugging my knees and puzzling over physics, how to reconcile my efforts with the balance of gravity. For every action, equal and opposite reaction. I knew the feeling, but not the words. Status and stasis are kinsmen. When I took flight, knees bent, chin out, I was matched every time, a levelling force returning me to base. The swans were indifferent, of course. I stared at them, longing to write secrets in black ink beneath their wings, fold them closed again like paper cranes. They always left without warning. Their long necks bent together in assent while I worked over sums at laminate tables. They vanished in the manner of their appearing, so sudden that when I ran searching for them across the still sodden grass, I doubted the very possibility of their visitation. Swans had no business here. Not really.
Hi everyone. This poem is called Olga Drawing the World. She lifts a black felt tip, draws a big U, pens it half full of blue, says that's the sea. The bowl's sides are her mountains. In the sky, she draws Tommy. He's her goldfish. His mouth pouts a speech bubble. Beside Tommy, her scribbling tip scrubs a reddish sun. Rays hang like ropes. I say, I love the rays. They're not rays, they're lashes, she snaps. Her son's an eye. watching. Back with black, she scrawls in our house. Off kilter, it tilts towards Tommy. Chimney smoke spirals as a coiled spring across her jotter. Black doodles thread like tire tracks. She scratches tarmac straight to the front door. Her leaning arm protects the page. In her speech bubble, she scrawls, cough, cough. The smoke chokes Tommy's tongue. In gripped red, her son's eye, bloodshots, lashes fray to flames. The bent felt tip scrubs up a fever-hot sky. She grabs blue. Beneath her scratching tip, the penned-in sea spills. Waves reel across the page, rise over her melted you. Thank you.
Irish hare. When she downs in her form, she ups fresh as wild woodbine at sundown. On highs she contrives a halt on the hill to sleeve herself with grit, which is effective, key, like a distillate. She will not be won from the world's curved form, her verdant living skin. Up there, on her point, edged with sedge, ancient stone, she is rooted to the soil that seeded her and parented in each and every part as a particle. Within this earth, her heaven.
Hello, my name is Glen Wilson. I'm extremely grateful to Community Arts Partnership and the judges for selecting my poem. I'm going to read it for you now. It's called Retting the Linen. Retting the linen. Rich cambric quilts are started in the fields. First dew ret the tan flax over many nights. Let the heaviness of the valley work the woody matter through the soft water. Spread it thin so you can see the life below it. Keep your roots close together, lay in rows. Rain will hasten any process. Accordion stretch it on the ban meadow's song. Watch for the silvering of its colour. See it brittle the stalk. Wait for the yield. Then parse the very rough fibres. Pull it through the fine hackle. A mother combing her daughter's hair, caught in the tension of envy and pride and the utter gift of it all. I tighten the finished threads around my fingers until the tips redden, then release and watch life flood back into its natural places. Thank you.
Out of our depths. Who hung the fish on the trees? Asks my mother as we both look through the kitchen window. And I wonder too. Perhaps they are waiting for the right season to unhook themselves and swim into their own depths. She thinks passing fishermen may have left them there, but the sea is far and the river feels away. I tell her that she is seeing through her third eye, and her eyes, old as bark, smile back. In the leftover moments of breakfast, we pause in the elsewhere, still like the hanging fish, before the day draws us further into ourselves.
Frost for Juan Carlos Adoviri. This frost, which makes of a blade of grass a sword of light, might be the same frost which pierced my heart the first time winter kissed my cheek. The blackbird's heart beats behind black velvet, and the white swords of grass do it no harm. My Aymara comrade, you know the Andean dust, the white desert of Uyuni. You have seen the blue waters of heaven beneath your feet. You know nothing of the frost of my island childhood. When I fell into your dark fire, I unfroze. I almost perished. But God the Mother, God the Daughter, and Ilimani sang to us. You and I both genuflect when we see the moon over the mountain.
Hi everybody. This poem sadly reflects on the many dead sheep I seem to have encountered during my childhood in the moorns. The poem is called Sheep Carcass. Picked rib hoops, bone knuckle juts at rump, hock, flank, the seized forelegs stiff as when root. A landed sparrowhawk flaps on the scapula, gold irides holding me in its field. I keep my distance, watch the claws knead, beak hook jerk at gaunt elastic of sinew, cartilage, a chawn ear tag at my feet. The skull's wedge is stripped of its wimple, her once black face gone. The jaws clench, has the look of a grin. On the fetlock, a winged fist of blowflies. Below, I spot the crusted, swollen cloven that held her back. The midges hum a halo. Blue-green shimmers of blowflies buzz over the night's raw feast. Nothing wasted of her bloat. This abandoned hill now holds high her bones, her gone udder that will never suckle, that no birth lamb will nuzzle. This leaving sparrowhawk flap flap glides across the fence line where wool of the gone flock twists on the barbs. I follow the flight path, blunt tail, wingspan undulating to its high soar. I think of built nests, gaping beaks, fledgling life. Thank you.
What's left? Let's call it hope, or something like it. Salvaged from the flood of the year, hung, dried, examined in daylight. The sky was temperamental, but it too has survived. Let's call it luck, or something like it. Beneath the water, flowers pierced through bandages of weeds and prepared for an explosion of air. Let's call it noise, or absence of silence. When the surge rolled back and people arrived with mouths fluttering like a harmony of bird wings. Though the imitation of seasons continued, so did they. Let's call it truth, or at least glistened chunks of it, carved by the wounded into bark until the blunted knife dropped among curled leaves where love, or something like it, was concealed. Where petals from the flowers, leaves from the trees, the sky, the seasons, even the people would fall in a drought of kindness. Let's call it strength, or what was needed, to watch the clock for the precise moment night turned to morning, and resist the urge to swim out against the charcoal flood for the first glimpse of a fingernail of light, scraping the darkness.
Ciallaigh for my uncle Joseph McCluskey. Collinachta, wood of the fresh milk. There has always been something good about Ciallaigh. Here the trees were let be. A sheltered place even now. And knowing this, there was a time they brought cows here to calve. The newborn finding their feet, steadying, suckling their first milk in the shade of the ash, the oak, the sycamore, the greenness, stilling, settling, soothing all between the two lights. Gurramai Agav.
Hi everyone. I'd like to thank all involved with the Seamus Heaney New Writing Awards for selecting my poetry. This poem is called Health and Safety. Self-closing devices to be dual action, such that doors move smoothly from 90 degrees to fully closed within 3 to 7 seconds, providing smooth transitions to soft latching and a positive but not slamming action, avoiding wear of smoke seals or damage to frame. At kitchen cookers, fans to meet minimum extraction rate of 60 litres per second, 30 elsewhere. Kite-marked alarms in circulation spaces, habitable areas to have 72-hour battery backup. Sofas, cots, beds, pet baskets to comply with statutory instruments for ignition resistance. Toasters, kettles, chip pans to be appliance tested. For non-compliant flats, a letter to be posted to the managing agent. And in the early hours, curls of smoke, toxic gases curl up stairwells, lift shafts, slink into door jams. Kite-marked alarms go beep, beep. All awaken families to stay put, to turn to the melting PVC of their flats' restricted windows. Watch the blistering skin, waxy tears of flammable cladding drip the sizzling panes. Vertical flame fronts growling up the building's facade. The tower ablaze like an on-fire chip pan. Thank you.
The goldfinch. Rising and falling, wild charms feast happily, harvesting on the hidden scrub behind farm gates. Perching on spiky seed heads, small beauties tease us into envy and the wish to bind. Charmed we fancied auguries of health in gold-wing bars, grew fertile in that red-flashed gaze. Their capture fed our greed for song and beauty, our wish to see beyond our days. Witnessing our sick beds, charmed to divine our ends, tangled in our allegories, then held in spells of suffering and salvation, in icons and the infant's chubby hands. Chained to entertain, tricked out to carry water, Fabritius dulled the charm of that bright gaze, dimmed their scarlet cheek guards, and claimed for them the rights of internees. Though some still mimic song to lure you in quick-limed limbs of innocent trees, I'm caught up in charming you with sunny southern seeds. I watch and see a stoic bird watch me with careful eye. We fail to foil your charm for camouflage in rough untended copses, unfarmed fields, for striking out from ivy-laden branches. You flash your yellow epaulets, flaunt faces like the bright red coats of grenadiers.
It was a surprise and an honour to be the recipient of the Seamus Heaney Award for New Writing in 2019. It meant a great deal to me personally and professionally to have my work recognised in this way by a jury of my peers, and particularly to receive an award which pays tribute to Seamus Heaney. Seamus was a poet whose work in person continues to have global impact, and reading his early collections both drew me to Irish literature and encouraged me in my own writing practice. I came to live in Northern Ireland from Canada quite a number of years ago, and while I began publishing in Canada in the 1970s, since I relocated to Belfast, I've been involved in a number of poetry projects and initiatives on the island of Ireland. I feel that the Heaney Award consolidated those efforts, that it gave a certain profile and presence to my work as a poet here. I felt welcomed into a community of writers in this country, and that has been both affirming and sustaining. The award has also enabled exposure of my poetry to a wider audience than I might have had previously, and it has catalysed my engagement with new poetry projects and commissions. I'm also grateful that the award has allowed the winning poem, Chironomy, which is from a sequence of poems about my father, Robert Ivan McCracken, to reach a large number of listeners and readers. That means a lot to me, as it has helped to fulfill what was my father's final wish, to live, and through the poem, I believe that he does.
Weren't those fabulous? And so, to the moment of truth, as it were. I'd like to thank everybody that took part. I'd really like to thank all those longlisted. And just to recap, I'd like to commend the work by Judith Thurley of Frost, by Máirín for Cheallaigh, Olga Draws the World by Jim McElroy, Out of Our Depths by Teresa Kane, Retting the Linen by Glen Wilson, Sheep Carcass, also by Jim McElroy, The Goldfinch from Sue Steging, The Swans by Charlene O'Connell, and What's Left by Colin Hassard. Now, as you know, we insist on anonymity in the panel, and this year our panel was made up of Kathleen McCracken, Moyra Donaldson, Damien Smith from the Arts Council, and myself. Shelley Tracey, who's our coordinator, helped us coordinate that panel process, and believe you and me, it took a day, albeit we were working remotely for the first time. So without further ado, may I announce the runner-up of the Seamus Heaney Award for New Writing 2021. The poem is called An Irish Hare, and it's by Margaret A. Sands. Congratulations, Margaret. Well done. And now, turning to the winner of the Seamus Heaney Award for New Writing 2021. The winner for his poem Health and Safety is Jim McElroy. Well done, Jim. And my goodness, 3 poems in the top 11 chosen. That is quite a feat, and it has not been achieved before. We have had 3 pieces published from one poet, but never before have we had 3 poems of such quality from the same author. And quite different it must be said too. Your poem, Health and Safety, struck a chord with all of us, given the horror of Grenfell. And I think also the fact that here we were in the midst of a pandemic, when we were all finding that health and safety was of prime importance at all times, never more so, in fact. So for your timely piece of poetry, and for the efficient elegance with which you accounted this very factual health and safety manual against the actual outworkings of what that kind of policy means and the reality, the horrible reality that ensued at Grenfell Tower. An amazing piece of work, alongside a series of amazing poetic pieces. I want to thank everybody who took part. I want to congratulate all those longlisted and Margaret A. Sands in being runner-up this year. The work was phenomenal. I think there was a different tone, and I think you'll find that when you're reading the anthology this year. But we persevered. We read and wrote and enjoyed. And I think that as a community of writers and a community of poetry enthusiasts, it's so heartening that we have that opportunity again this year in the midst of all the turmoil that we face. So as we had said, take heart, make art. A hearty well done to Jim McElroy, and I look forward to much more from Jim over the years ahead. So we reprise with Jim's video, his performance of Health and Safety, this year's award winner of the Seamus Heaney Award for New Writing. All the very best. Stay safe. Stay creative. Bye-bye.
Hi, everyone. I'd like to thank all involved with the Seamus Heaney New Writing Awards for selecting my poetry. This poem is called Health and Safety. Self-closing devices to be dual action, such that doors move smoothly from 90 degrees to fully closed within 3 to 7 seconds, providing smooth transitions to soft latching and a positive but not slamming action, avoiding wear of smoke seals or damage to frame. At kitchen cookers, fans to meet minimum extraction rate of 60 litres per second, 30 elsewhere. Kite-marked alarms in circulation spaces, habitable areas to have 72-hour battery backup. Sofas, cots, beds, pet baskets to comply with statutory instruments for ignition resistance. Toasters, kettles, chip pans to be appliance tested. For non-compliant flats, a letter to be posted to the managing agent. And in the early hours, curls of smoke, toxic gases curl up stairwells, lift shafts, slink into door jams. Kite-marked alarms go beep, beep. All awaken families to stay put, to turn to the melting PVC of their flats' restricted windows. Watch the blistering skin, waxy tears of flammable cladding drip the sizzling panes. Vertical flame fronts growling up the building's facade. The tower ablaze like an on-fire chip pan. Thank you.